5 years feels like a blink. But when I actually think back to what was going on when I launched the show, then it starts to feel like it's been a while, because it's been, that tiny little desk in the corner of my children's playroom was doing a lot of lifting, because we were talking about George Floyd-a-palooza and the COVID lockdowns, and the country was in the middle of like a massive crisis when we launched the show, which was one of the reasons why we launched the show when we did. And now we have different problems. And actually you could make a pretty good case that, the problems then led directly to the problems we're experiencing now. But I mean, we've made so much progress in fighting wokeism, for example. Like the BLM crowd has zero power these days. What a turnaround. The transgender madness, has been totally outed for the insanity that it is. It's not over, but it's been outed. We no longer have to convince people that it's extremely controversial. So that's very much progress. And now, unfortunately, we've seen the country graduate to political assassinations, which, it's almost like you long for the sweet days of 2020 when we were just locking people in their homes and making them raise the fist and say, Black Lives Matter.
Well, I guess it's the dying gasps of whatever their regime was, they've descended into violence and craziness. And for you, when you first started doing this 5 years ago, going solo, it was a big leap of faith for you in yourself, I guess, after having been in corporate media for so long and been incredibly successful. And then here you are, just you and the camera. Were you frightened? Were you afraid you might fail?
Not really, because I just come off of a big failure. So it's kind of like, if I fail, it's like another failure. So, and I do believe you learn more from the failures than you do from the successes. So I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of like, it's going to fail. In podcasting, it's really just a question of how many people will listen. And I remember talking to my therapist, who I very much needed back then on the heels of that NBC debacle. And he's got this accent. He's from South Africa. And he was like, well, I'll listen and Doug will listen. So you have two. So I knew I had those two. And then, I just kept saying to the team, keep rowing, just keep rowing, keep rowing. And you're probably experiencing this now and will over the next 5 years of your show's infancy. You go like this, you go flatline for a long time, and then something happens and you spike up, and then you go flatline, and then something happens and you spike up. So like you amass followers in a very weird way. It's not like a cable news show where it's a slow and steady build and gentle incline up over the years. So I had to get used to that. And during those long flatlines, wondering, will anybody else come or have I maxed out? And anyway, it's just sort of a different organism to get used to, but I love it. It's the most authentic form of communication there is.
Why do you love it more than, say, Fox or NBC?
Because no one has any control over me, none whatsoever. I can never get a call from the second floor, which was the Fox term for the bosses. That's where Roger and his emissaries sat, and they'd call, you didn't say this, you shouldn't say that, or that's not what we're doing, or would appreciate if you'd back off this. You'd get those calls even at Fox. Now, Fox was the best of all of them, because I worked at ABC for a stint and NBC, and there's no comparison when it comes to like freedom to say what you want. Fox was way better. But
people would never believe that.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Fox, they have their agenda. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, go take a look at their sponsors, and that will tell you what their agenda is. But in general, they are committed to the principle of free speech and of heterodox thinking. And if you look at Fox News on any election night or big night, you will see Democrats and Republicans and you will see smart Democrats who really are able to argue their points, like a Joe Trippi, for example. Not just pushovers, who are like secretly Republicans in disguise. Yeah. Go look at CNN, look at MSNBC, very different story. I mean, CNN now has Scott Jennings, who is wonderful. He's it. He's it. That's all they have. So Fox was much more committed to having open dialogue, but none of that compares to this medium where no one controls me. I don't have a single investor. It's just me. I own 100% of my own show and stock. I take advertisements. They don't control what I say. And if they tried to, I would fire them. So it's just a totally different animal. There are no sacred cows. I can say how I actually feel about any subject, and I do.
And has that changed you over time? I mean, you've become more outspoken, I think, and it seems that you've become more conservative. Is that right?
Well, yes, I think so. I mean, I was never, other than when I was really young, like a liberal. I guess I was never a liberal, but I used to be a Democrat. And then once I started working as a lawyer and seeing what was happening to my paycheck, and I took a job with this big firm, Jones Day, I definitely started leaning more rightward in my politics. And then when I got to Fox, I was surrounded by very smart Republicans all the time. And it just sort of changed the way I thought about a lot of issues, gave me new ways into different problems. And, but yeah, over the last 5 years, I've definitely gone from, I guess what you'd call a moderate Republican to like a real conservative because they forced me. It's like those cartoons all over X. I haven't moved my feet at all. The ground moved underneath me. I'm exactly where I used to be. I still believe that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, just like Mr. Rogers taught me when I was in the 70s and watching TV. Same beliefs as we used to have 50 years ago. I'm still pro-gay rights, which that's fine. Most Republicans are. I'm not in favor of an open border, which was how the Democrats sounded in the 1990s too. Anyway, the Democrat Party has lost its mind and really shamed itself. I now believe you'd have to be ashamed to be a Democrat right now, given what they've become. And I don't recognize that party at all. Even my mom, a lifelong Democrat, she was always pro-life, but she was a Democrat. She was like a blue dog Democrat. Even my mom is a Trump voter now, and she can't recognize the party she spent 80 years voting for. And now I think she's double Trump. She's not triple Trump, but she's double Trump, which is saying something.
A lot of your listeners or viewers are women and Democrat women, I guess, or previously Democrat women. I feel like you're talking to that audience that's gone on a journey. Maybe they're a little behind you, but they feel the same way. Maha, the woke gender stuff. A lot of mothers have recoiled from that imposition on their children. Is that where you think the Democrat Party has made the most mistakes, losing the women that used to be locked into them?
I mean, they haven't lost women overall, unfortunately. Look at the last election, but they are shedding them for sure. As Charlie Kirk would say, the women present an opportunity for Republicans and for MAGA. And I agree with that. But yeah, you're right. I have a lot of recovering Democrats who listen to my show. And one of the reasons I think they listen, at least what they say, is that they're looking for the way to talk about these issues. Like they want, my show is very fact-based. It's the lawyer in me. I like evidence. I like to know what's real. And then we can make arguments from those facts, but we should not be making up facts. And we should not be selecting facts that are limited to the ones that are good for us. We need the full panoply of facts and evidence, and then we'll go from there. And I think it's helpful to them to hear those and then to hear us talk about why, whatever I've come to the conclusions I have about those facts, they can take it or leave it. But at least now they've had somebody frame the issues in a way that's hopefully helpful, because they're still arguing with their side. They're still going back to their friends saying, fellow wine moms, listen. And the trans issue is a huge one, because that's one people knew inherently was wrong. And I don't think
but were too afraid to say anything.
Yes, they were too afraid, or I think it started differently. I think it started with, it got to too afraid, but it started with, let's be nice. Let's just be kind. Like it's this tiny little group of weird people. And we have no wish to bully Republican or Democrat, like this odd group that is delusional about something. And it's not really hurting us. Like if a man wants to put on a dress and go around, like who cares? And then it quickly morphed into something so much more dangerous than that. And that's when the uncomfortable feeling started. Yeah. And then the children were just a total deal breaker. Like now you have no moral choice but to speak up.
And with the podcast, you are not alone. I mean, you're the OG, but there are many other former TV stars who are now going into that space and I mean, Joy Reid is one of them, your former NBC or MSNBC anyway, sister colleague. You know, Tucker Carlson, et cetera, and with varying degrees of success. But is that the future? What's happened to the corporate media, the cable channels? I mean, Fox is still a powerhouse, but CNN is hemorrhaging viewers. So are the networks. What do you see them withering? Do you feel more influential now than you were?
Yeah, I see them withering, and I think my lane has gotten very powerful. You know, I'm but a cog in that wheel, but my lane is the most powerful lane, and it is the future. I mean, they're all dying. They really are. Even Fox is on its last legs thanks to Trump. Mark my words, when you don't have Trump in there to drive the ratings every day, because he's a ratings machine. I have benefited from him at Fox for many years. Just when
Biden was a rating machine, though, in a way, for Fox, being anti-Biden.
I know. He was such a hot mess. Fox does tend to do better when it's in the opposition, unless we're talking about Trump. There's no comparing your ratings under anybody to under Trump. He's just so interesting and he's so entertaining. So look, if you were betting real money at the stock market, you would be a fool to put it on either cable or broadcast news. That is not the future. What we're doing right now is the future. And I do think that the future, when it comes to news consumption, is an individual relationship. People will decide who they can trust, who they like, and maybe they'll have 2 or 3 of those, and that will be their news diet. And podcasting is just so easy. It's in your pocket. You can put it on whenever you want at your convenience in a vertical integration. You can take a little or a lot. You can watch, for example, in our case, our hour-and-a-half long show, when we're live for 2 hours on SiriusXM, but that's got ads and all that in it. On Pod, it's about an hour and a half. You can watch that for 2 minutes or the full time. You can watch the video snippets. You can watch on Instagram. A lot of people watch our show on Instagram, and they just watch 10 clips of the show on Instagram, and then they feel like they have a good feel for what the news is. That's how people want to get information. They don't want to have to do appointment viewing at X PM, or I have to sit there and I have to sit through every single ad, and I have to go at normal speed. With podcasting, like, I'm crazy. I listen to Ben Shapiro on 2.0. It's
and
crazy.
He speaks fast anyway.
Totally. I have to buckle in for that. But it's a great way to get your news quickly. And while you're doing something else, you can multitask. So I 100% believe this is the future. And that's why it's growing so exponentially.
And Ben Shapiro was really your guide to starting podcasting, wasn't he? Did he implanted the idea?
Yeah. So when Ben was a young whippersnapper, I had him on the Kelly File and my earlier show too, all the time. Like, he and I got to know each other pretty well. Yeah, on Fox. Yeah. Nobody knew him. I helped make Ben Shapiro.
Really?
And Buck Sexton. And actually a lot of these guys,
Congrats.
when they were young
They're all
and
great.
needed a place on TV. And Pete Hegseth, by the way. Very proud of that one.
Really?
So yes, he'll tell you that too. But anyway, so Ben used to come on, and then when I was sitting on the couch, a loser, which is what happened to me after NBC, with nobody wanting to hear from me, nobody liking me. The right was like pissed about the Trump stuff, and the left was pissed off about the NBC stint at all, never mind how it ended. I was just sitting there feeling sorry for myself, Miranda, and Ben Shapiro called me and said, MK, get up. You got to get off that couch. You should come out here to California and take a look. They were still out there at what we're doing. And he wasn't trying to hire me. He was just trying to help me. So I went and I looked at the Daily Wire operations, and he got me so excited about the medium. I left and I was like, this is what I want to do. And it took me a couple more months to actually launch the thing, but it really is because of him that I'm here.
What a good friend he is,
Totally.
And successful. I wanted to ask you about NBC. That was, I guess, a huge come down after having been a star on Fox and then leaving in, circumstances you wouldn't have chosen. And then there you are at NBC making tons of money, but it seemed like they almost set you up to fail. Is that the way it felt to you?
Totally. Yes. It was a horrid year of my life. I've said this before, but there's no other better way of putting it. The whole year was tumultuous and traumatic. And so when it finally ended over the BS blackface thing, it was a mercy, because when you're dying death by 1,000 cuts, the machete is a mercy. It's like please just do it. Like let's end this horrific experiment. But it was traumatic. I mean, I'm not downplaying that.
And why was it?
Because it was not a good fit. I mean, I said this to the Fifth Column guys the other day. I think I was temporarily insane when I made that decision to go there, Miranda. I'd had such a rough last year and a half at Fox, some of which is documented in the movie Bombshell, if you've seen it. The stuff with Roger was tumultuous and really had many people at the organization turn on me. So a place where I'd kind of grown up and had lots of friends, suddenly I was a pariah. And on top of that, the Trump war, whatever that was very bad for my internal relations and just my place in the conservative ecosphere that I was working. And so I thought if I went to NBC, I would get out of politics altogether. That's what I thought. I thought I'd be going someplace kinder and gentler.
Little did
idiot.
You know.
And oh my God, so dopey. But anyway, I really thought I'll get out of politics. I'll go do like a show about lifestyle. Not like, I didn't foresee the like wardrobe, and cooking segments, but I did think we'd be talking to like cancer survivors and like people who had near-death experiences who saw the light on the other. Like I thought we'd be doing substantive personal stories of change. That was my original vision for the show. But the problem was that didn't rate. So then NBC kept infusing all these lighter segments into the hour, which did rate, but weren't me. So felt awkward for both me and the audience. And like the gulf between me and the show just widened by the day. And on top of it, I was under attack every week, either by, this is my very strong belief, and she can go ahead and sue me if it's not true. I'd love to go through discovery with her, because of the PR nightmare who runs the Fox News comms shop, who's dropping hit pieces on me every other week, and because of the evil people at NBC who would love to have participated in the same. That's all I'm going to say. So like when your show's not doing well, it can be the case. I'm not speaking about NBC necessarily, but let me just give you a media lesson. It can be the case that you become the dumpster fire trash heap for everyone in the organization when, let's say, they have a scandal, which they then convert into a non-story by dangling your ass in front of the media reporter on something far juicier. Wouldn't you rather write about this? So for some combination of those reasons, the listeners and viewers can make it up themselves. Things didn't go well for me in the media when I was at NBC, and it just wasn't a pleasant experience.
You must have had to drag yourself in knowing that it was going to be a humiliation.
Yes, it was horrible. The only thing, I'll give you two good things about NBC. Kathy Lee Gifford, who was a doll and who the whole time was nice to me and saw what was going on and knew it was BS. And two, the in-studio audience, who I really loved.
Right.
And who, like the same regulars would come some of the days, like most of the days. And I fell in love with them. And those folks were so mad at NBC when it ended. And they saw what was going on. And I had a genuine connection with the people who were in that studio audience.
Right.
And I still to this day miss them.
Yes. Yeah. And I know that Joy Reid, you've just recently, she's been nasty about you and calling you the blonde Laura Loomer. So I guess she's no longer at MSNBC and is trying her hand at a podcast. I don't think it's doing all that well, but
no,
what do you have to say to her?
Joy Reid is an insane lunatic who's truly, honestly, extremely racist. She's never seen a white person who she likes. The only
100%.
people who have a possibility of being liked by Joy Reid, if they're white, are people who will openly subjugate themselves to her, tell her how smart she is, tell her they believe her Harvard degree was real, and pretend that, they're somehow less than because she's the be all end all, because that's what she wants us to believe. So if you don't go along with those lies, she doesn't like you. It's why she likes Nicole Wallace, people like that. And Joy Reid is going to fail in the independent lane because she's too toxic. Just why doesn't she ask her little buddy Tiffany Cross, the equally racist person who is at MSNBC, who failed as well when she tried to launch a podcast and go off independently? It's not going to go well. And that's what happened to Joy Reid. She was super racist, and NBC had enough of her and said, we cannot be attached to this person any longer.
Yeah, Don Lemon is not doing all that well either. Same thing. It seems like the left is not really thriving in your lane, in this independent podcast lane.
There's a couple of outliers, like the guys from Pod Save America. They got in on it early. They're doing well. There's a guy named Tim Miller, who I constantly am arguing with online, but I secretly kind of have a begrudging respect for. I used to like him a lot. He's not bad. He's out there. There's that group, the Midas Touch. They do okay. And that will conclude the list of left-wing podcasters who really have a meaningful presence.
And why is that?
Because the left controls every single other outlet.
Yes.
They don't have to come over here, you know?
Yeah.
Conservatives have Fox. They have Newsmax, you know, but that's never really taken off, with all due respect to my pals over there. And they have digital. But the left has everything else.